the power of kind of pointing your finger, whoever you're blaming right now for your circumstances, just turn the fingers right back at yourself, because that's where your power is. Motivation is complete garbage. It's not coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. Sashin's not coming. I'm not coming. You have got to figure out how to push yourself. There is a 5-second window that defines your entire life. And once you see what I'm about to explain to you, you will not unsee it. And you will wonder, why the hell have I never seen this before? So there is a really interesting nerve called the vagus nerve, okay? The vagus nerve stretches all the way from your tailbone all the way to the crown of your head. It runs through every major organ in your body, and it is a superpower if you know how to tone it. The 5-second rule.
Hi, it's Robin Sharma, and you're tuning into the Millionaire Student Show with Sashin.
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 Hey everyone, welcome to another episode on the Millionaire Student Show, where I get the opportunity to pick the minds of this generation's thought leaders, change makers, disruptors, innovators, and inspirations. Dissect their story from the pain they went through, the price they paid, and what their prize looks like today. I formulated the Millionaire Student Self-Development System and Company because this is what I was searching for when I first entered the entrepreneurial world at 17 years old. My mission and my purpose is to serve you with virtual mentorship to consciously make your clock tick without taking the thunder away from today's guest. She's one of the most popular on-air commentators, opinion writers for CNN. Her practical, no-nonsense advice and life strategies provide tangible results and skills that help people push through the everyday challenges we all face in life, work and love. Through this, she has become the most sought after and requested female speakers in the world. Her well-researched and really powerful insights into what it means to be a human comes wrapped in both science and her past experiences. She's made a name for herself by being real, raw, and unapologetic, and yet totally vulnerable. She says what everybody's already thinking, but is a little too scared to say, and it makes people absolutely love her. It is not hard to understand why her TED Talk title, How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over, is one of the most watched TED Talks of all time. And it's also easy to see why she's an award-winning talk radio host who is trusted by some of the biggest brands on the planet to help inspire and advise their teams. She appeared on almost every show and publication, to name a few: Good Morning America and the Today Show with Dr. Phil and even Oprah. With all of this, she still balances and maintains being a mother of 3. The Millionaire Students, please help me in welcoming today's guest on the show. She inspires more than 60 million people every month on social media. The best-selling author of The 5-Second Rule, which Amazon named the #1 audiobook in the world and the 5th most read book of the year, Mel Robbins. Mel, thank you so much for physically, emotionally, and spiritually being on the Millionaire Student Show today. I truly appreciate it. I know it's been definitely long overdue.
Well, you're welcome. I'm definitely here physically. At the end, let's see how I did emotionally and spiritually.
Definitely. In this episode, I'm going to dissect the pain, the price, and the prize of your life. And I know you've conquered life mentally and physically. I've been following your journey, paying attention to your teachings and watching your transformation. But for those who don't know you like I have come to know and understand your story, where did it all begin? What was that pain you actually went through?
It's a great question, because when you're going through those painful moments, and let's face it, this podcast is going to drop when the world is in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of countries are teetering on a recession. And there's never been a more important time to realize that you are one decision away from a better life. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but that one decision that most of us make typically is made when you hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom in your life, it's usually not bottom. Normally, you don't hit rock bottom with a thud. You hit it and you bounce. And a lot of times when you feel like life is burying you alive, which is how I felt in 2008, when the NASDAQ market crashed and when that was another rock bottom moment. I'm way older than you, so I'm going back to 2 recessions, but this was when the housing crisis happened in the United States, and we went through a recession here in the United States in 2008. But when you feel like life is burying you alive, I want you to remind yourself from this point forward that the seeds of your new life are getting planted. And that's what happened to me. So the pain that I was experiencing in my life in 2008 was entirely self-inflicted. So you may be able to blame the crap that you're dealing with right now on the pandemic or on circumstances that feel like they are outside of your control. In my case, when I hit rock bottom, it was of my own doing. Now, whether your rock bottom, your painful moment that you're experiencing right now is of your own doing, or you feel like it's been done to you, the thing that you need to keep in mind that I only know now because I can look back and understand it with perspective, with perspective and time comes wisdom, that no matter how out of control your life and the circumstances of your life feel, you always can choose what you're going to do in response to it. And that's where all your power lies. I know you talk about this, but this is my story. So the long and the short of it is, I was 40 years old. My husband and I had 3 children. We still do. We're still married. We're about to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. But at this point in time, I wanted to kill my husband because he had pursued his dream. How dare he? He had gone into the restaurant business. And he had opened up a restaurant outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And the first restaurant was really successful. So what do you do when you're a new entrepreneur and you got something that's successful? Oh, you cash it all in and you bet everything on this thing. And so we liquidated our 401ks. We liquidated the kids' college savings. We took a home equity line out on our house. We put it all into expanding this restaurant business. And what could possibly go wrong, Well, what went wrong is they expanded too quickly, wrong locations, and then the housing crisis and the banking crisis hit in late 2007 and into 2008, and I found myself in a place I never thought I would be. 41 years old, $800,000 in debt. The phone is ringing off the hook, and it's collectors calling. We don't have a nickel to rub together because Chris hasn't been paid in 6 months. I've been laid off. The house is now underwater, so it's not even worth anything. We're about to lose it. They're about to repossess the cars. I would go to the grocery store and I would just pray. I'd get a few items and then they go to ask you to pay, and I would stick the card into that little machine and I would go, oh, please, Lord, please just let there be like some voodoo that happens in the air and this somehow goes through. And when it wouldn't go through and the cashier hands you back, I'm sorry, this has been declined, I would always say the same thing. It's funny. It just worked at the gas station, knowing full well there was a negative balance in that account. And so I was responding to this painful moment in the way that so many of us do, by drinking myself into the ground, by blaming the situation on my husband, because it's so much easier to be angry and to point the finger than it is to take a look in the mirror and do the work to change and to accept responsibility for your participation in the pain. And, the power of kind of pointing your finger, whoever you're blaming right now for your circumstances, just turn the fingers right back at yourself, because that's where your power is. The power is always in you. Now, I didn't feel that way. And this is the other thing I want you to take away from my story. You'll never feel ready to change. Motivation is complete garbage. It's not coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. Sashin's not coming. I'm not coming. You have got to figure out how to push yourself. And, the thing about changing and the thing about painful moments is you already know what you need to do to make things slightly better. Your problem isn't knowing what you need to do. Your problem is doing that stuff. And so for me, I would every night give myself that pep talk. And I'm sure if you're in a painful moment in your life, you give yourself a pep talk every night. You're like, all right, that's it. Tomorrow morning, it's got to be the new me. I gotta get out of bed. I gotta stop drinking. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta pull it together. I gotta look for a job. I mean, have you ever had that moment where you're like giving yourself a pep talk? It's sad when that happens. So this went on for months. Literally every night I'd say, I'm not drinking tomorrow. I'm looking for a job tomorrow. I'm going to stop screaming at Chris tomorrow. And then I'd wake up and I'd do the same thing. And here's one of the reasons why, everybody, you keep doing the same thing, because the behavior you're trying to change is stored in this part of your brain. It's a habit to beat yourself up. It's a habit to complain. It's a habit to give into excuses. It's a habit to let the anxiety rise. It's a habit to procrastinate. And so when the moment comes to change, you're already locked in this part of the brain. Now, I knew none of this shit in 2008. 2008, I am a woman on a one-way road to bankruptcy, divorce, depression, anxiety, and alcoholism. That's where my life was headed. And if you roll your clock forward in your own life right now, and you say to yourself, if I keep doing the same crap for the next 2 years, where is this going to end up? And if I don't like where this ends up, you better listen to this podcast and use this as a freaking wake-up call, because you're meant to be listening to this story right now. So what happened for me is it was February. It was a Monday night outside of Boston, Massachusetts. I was sitting in the chair in my living room. I was having that same old pep talk. Got to exercise, got to look for a job, got to stop drinking, got to stop yelling at Chris. And then I said to myself, and Mel, when that alarm rings, you cannot hit that snooze button 4 times. You've got to drag yourself out of bed. You see, the old Mel loved the snooze button. The old Mel would hit it 4 times a morning. The kids would miss the school bus. Like, I woke up and I was already so behind the ball, the rest of my day just spiraled more and more out of control. For whatever reason, I think it was God, honestly, the universe. It was a greater force than me, because the story is so stupid, it's unbelievable. I'm sitting in this chair. I say to myself, and when that alarm rings, you can't lay there, Mel, and let the anxiety and overwhelm come in. You gotta like get up. And then all of a sudden I see the television, and this freaking rocket ship like goes right across the screen. It was at the end of some dumb commercial. And I had this idea. I went, oh, that's it. Tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, Mel Robbins, you are going to rocket your ass out of bed. You're going to move so fast, you won't even be in that bed when that depression and that anxiety and those excuses hit. Now, look, I had 4 Manhattans that night. So that's probably what gave me the idea, because it sounds kind of dumb. For whatever reason, the very next morning, Tuesday morning, February, outside of Boston, Massachusetts, the alarm went off. Now, here's the thing I want to teach you. There is a 5-second window that defines your entire life. And once you see what I'm about to explain to you, you will not unsee it. And you will wonder, why the hell have I never seen this before? It's a 5-second window of hesitation. It's a window between an instinct and an inspiration to move. And 5 seconds later, fear stops you. It's the moment of confidence that strikes you, and you're about to say something. And 5 seconds later, it's so weird, self-doubt kicks in. It's a moment of courage. And 5 seconds later, anxiety is there to stop you. And your whole life takes place inside this 5-second window. This is the window in which, instead of moving, you stop and think, and you hesitate, and you start to consider what you're supposed to do instead of just doing what you need to do. And it's inside this 5-second window that every excuse comes in, your fears come in, your habits come in, your self-doubt comes in, your anxiety comes in. This is where you win or lose the game of life. This is where your dreams come true or fail. This is where you become the person you're meant to be, or you stay stuck with where you are in this 5-second window. So I saw it that first morning in February in 2008. The alarm goes off. That's what happened. I immediately remember that dumb idea. launch myself out of bed, this 5-second window starts to open up where I start to think about launching myself out of bed. And all the thoughts that come into this 5-second window go, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't feel like getting out of bed. It's dark. It's cold. What freaking difference is it going to make if I get out of bed? My problems are so freaking big. And I could feel myself reaching for the snooze button because it was a habit. But then I did something I'd never done before. I just started counting backwards, just like they launch a rocket, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And all of a sudden I stood up. Weird. I used it again the next morning. Alarm goes off. Window opens up. I started thinking about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm up. The next morning, window opens up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I close it. The darndest thing happened. I literally made myself a promise, because I'm a lawyer by training and I'm pretty analytical. And I went to the Ivy League universities. So I really, for a long time in my life, was like, okay, got to have credentials, got to have support, got to have research. So everything that I do has to be grounded in research and needs to have some proof behind it. So for me, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is going to help me. But I said to myself on that third morning, Mel, your life is in such disarray. What the hell do you have to lose? Anytime you're in a situation where you know what you need to do, but you feel yourself doubting yourself or stopping yourself or whatever, just count backwards. Let's see what the hell happens. It's not like you can make it any worse. So I started using it in just the simplest situations. I'd see Chris, I'd want to kill him. I'm sure we've all had that experience with the people that we love. You're like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of a sudden, counting backwards, I'm now able to respond instead of react. And I'm able to treat the man in a way that's consistent with my values, not driven by my emotions and my fear. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm picking up the phone, which is what you have to do in business, right? You want to grow anything, you got to talk about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who likes to cold call? Not me. Who likes to network? Not me. Who likes to approach us? Not me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm picking up the phone, and I'm networking, and I'm finding a job. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm exercising. So I started using this tool to coach myself, to push myself. And at the time, I had no idea of the tremendous science that was behind it. And I used it in secret for 3 years. I changed every aspect of my life. My husband used it in his business and used it to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go talk to landlords and renegotiate leases. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go to their investors and tell them what was actually happening. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, continue to raise money, continue to work on the P&L. And they started to pull it out of the crash it was in. And my whole life changed because I had a tool to, in a moment, stop myself from reacting, and a tool that would interrupt bad habits. And it gave me the power, the control, and the focus to align my actions and my thoughts with the values and outcomes that I wanted, instead of being at the effect of all of these fears and bad habits that were driving my life into the ground. And I first shared it in a TEDx talk in 2011. That talk now has like 25 million views. And the rest is history. I went on to write a book about it that's in 32 languages. I launched courses, audiobooks, daytime talk show. The list goes on and on and on. And so my whole life changed because of one 5-second decision. And that's why I can sit here with an Ivy League degree and a law degree and millions of followers and tell you that based on science and based on the fact that I have the results having impacted millions of people on very significant, scary issues like anxiety and PTSD and bankruptcy and obesity and OCD, like whatever it is you're struggling with, I promise you that you can use this tool to change your decisions and the patterns that are holding you back.
And Mel, it's so simple to do as well as it's so simple not to do. When I look at your entire story, as well as, so many people that can relate to you right now, 2 words come to me: automaticity, because it takes 66 days today to actually create a habitual state. Back in the days, it used to take 21 days, but with social media, the news, with everything around us, we've dragged it to 66 days. And then at the same time, we subordinate ourselves to go out and take on other people's problems. And when I look at your story, it was that simple shift, as of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whilst everyone's trying to look at the detailed shift, the detailed change. I know you've said, and you've even said in this podcast right now, that motivation is garbage and it doesn't last. So why is it that people get so addicted to motivation? Well, I want to watch this motivation video early in the morning. And the old speakers as well, the old inspirational, motivational speakers, that was their business that they thrived on.
Well, look, so first of all, you got to understand, it's a great question, but let me explain and teach you something about motivation as you're listening to us. So there are two forms of motivation. There's extrinsic, exterior, exit, outside of you, and intrinsic motivation, interior, inside of you. Extrinsic motivation is the business that you and I are in. We are in the business of providing an external source, an external push for other people. So for me, I rely on extrinsic motivation to exercise because Mel Robbins is not breaking a sweat unless somebody's screaming at me or chasing me, okay? So I rely on Peloton. I rely on people doing workouts, that you can listen to because I don't have the internal motivation to push myself hard enough. When I say motivation is garbage, what I'm saying is if you're sitting around waiting to feel like it, to feel motivated, to feel courageous, to feel inspired, to wake up and feel like you want to go to the gym, that shit is not coming. Because your intrinsic motivation, the motivation inside of you, is tied to your emotion. And your emotions come and go. And if you want to change your life, you are going to have to do something that feels hard or that feels different, which means your emotions are going to go, no, thank you. That's why you can be super committed to having health goals, but you blow it because every single morning you wake up and before you put on your exercise clothes, you ask yourself internally, do I feel like exercising right now? That kind of motivation is not coming. What you have to understand is that motivation will not change your life and you do not need it. What you need are simple promises and simple repetition. If you were to ask yourself, right now I'm here, this is the present me. The future me looks different than I am right now. I have some goals. I want to make more money. I'd like to be a little bit healthier. I'd like to stop trash talking myself. In order to bridge the gap between the person that you are in this present moment and the person you want to become, you are going to have to start acting like the person you want to become in the present moment. And that's going to require you to do things that are difficult. You're never going to feel motivated to do that. The way that I teach people to change is I basically ask you, just like you do in business, let's do a gap analysis. What does the future you do that the current you doesn't? And now tomorrow morning, let's make a list of very simple promises. Let's keep it super simple. What's a promise you're going to make to yourself? And the reason why I like to frame this in promises is because you want to change for yourself. And you want to change because you know that your health, your wealth, your happiness, your fulfillment matters, and it's your responsibility. When you start to put it in the languages of promises, all right, tomorrow I'm going to promise that I'm going to just exercise for 20 minutes. It now becomes not whether or not you're motivated. You're starting to train yourself in a skill of making and keeping simple promises to yourself. And so to me, that's the only way that you change because you're never going to feel like doing the hard stuff, everybody. Never.
So your inner wisdom is always with you and always guiding you to take that right path. How does one have clarity to hear it and at the same time the courage to follow it?
When you use the phrase, which I do too, inner wisdom, what I'm talking about is the fact that you, and I mean the person that you are listening right now, the singular you, listening to this podcast, you have been designed with a very sophisticated navigation system in your body. It is hardwired in your DNA. It is shaped by every experience, good or bad, that you've ever had. It is encoded and programmed to work with your nervous system. And there isn't a single human being that's ever been on the planet Earth or that ever will be here in the future that will ever be exactly like you. And this navigation system that you have has been guiding you ever since you were born. You were perfectly designed. You went from a blob that couldn't roll around to being able to roll and get up on your knees and scooch to standing up to walking. Your curiosity, which is like an inner compass, would draw you towards something. When you were in kindergarten and the teacher goes, "How many of you like to draw?" Your hand shot up. But what happens to you, and the reason why you stop listening to that internal programming that is pulling you in certain directions and whispering to you and guiding you at all times, is that life intervenes. And the average kid hears the word no or a version of the word no almost 400 times a day. When you start to realize that you get picked on if you don't belong to a group, we start to betray ourselves in order to belong. We start to dress like everybody else. We start to try to conform so that we fit in. And in doing that, you're suppressing this unique, amazing internal guidance system and the gift that you have to give to the world that nobody else can give, by the way. And so how do you start to tune back in? Well, there's two answers. There's the scientific way that you tune in, which has to do with how you lower the agitation in your nervous system, which is part of everybody's problem right now. Everybody's living in a state of fight or flight and uncertainty. You don't even realize how much cortisol is flooded through your body right now or how on edge your nervous system is. So there's the scientific back things that you need to do in terms of a daily practice to just lower that shit down. And then there is the intentional checking in with yourself when you're making decisions. And I can give you a very simple tool for how you do it. First, I want to handle the scientific stuff. So there is a really interesting nerve called the vagus nerve, okay? The vagus nerve stretches all the way from your tailbone all the way to the crown of your head. It runs through every major organ in your body, and it is a superpower if you know how to tone it. Because what happens when you tone your vagus nerve is this vagus nerve, basically, if it's nice and toned, it settles your nervous system. So there are a bunch of things that tone your vagus nerve. One of them is meditation. Another one is prayer. Another one is chanting. Why? Because the vagus nerve goes through your vocal cords. So when you go, you feel the vibration here. The reason why you feel it here is because it's actually going through your vagus nerve. Taking a hot bath, taking a cold shower, walking outside without your earbuds in and for 5 minutes and tuning into the sounds that you hear, especially if you do it barefoot, all of this stimulates your vagus nerve. It also, when you do that, will bring the vibrational level of your nervous system down. Why? Well, it's important to do something like that every day, because when you tune down your nervous system, you're turning the volume down on the noise that is currently distracting you and keeping your fears front and center. You do that. I take a hot bath every night, not because I'm dirty, but because it tunes out the noise and settles my nervous system. I get outside every day and I take a walk for at least 10 minutes. Why? Because it settles my nervous system. When you get quiet, you can hear the most important voice in the world, your own. And so how do you tune into that voice in terms of a tool? Here's how you do it. With any decision, big or small, simply ask yourself, does this energize me or does this deplete me? What do I mean? I mean, if you're considering, what is something you're considering right now?
Right now, whether I should take on as many businesses as I am or walk away from a handful of them and focus on the big five, the main five.
Okay, well, you know what I'm going to tell you to do, but you need to tell yourself what to do. You ready? You're going to look at every business, okay? And you're going to look at the P&L in every business, and you're going to look at the time that you spend in every business. And then you're going to ask yourself, as you look at each business, go in And do you feel yourself shrink because it's depleting energy? Or do you feel something open up and it's expansive energy? If it's depleting or shrinking you in any way energetically, get rid of it. If there is something that feels like possibility or that it's opening up, that is a hell yes. Now, this has nothing to do with whether or not the decision is simple or hard, or whether or not it is an easy or a scary decision. It has to do with the energy in you and whether or not it expands that energy or it constricts it. Compasses work on magnetic energy. That's why they never lie. You work on energy too. That's why you want to start reading it. Think of it. You can do this with this is a simple way to do this, everybody. Go through your contact list, pull out your phone, start looking at the names on the contact list and go one by one. If you were to get a text from that person, would your energy go, whoop? You can kind of feel it in your gut and your butt. You know what I mean? You're like, or does your energy go, I'm psyched? You can your body immediately knows who's right or wrong for you. It's your old patterns of people pleasing and fear and judgment that keeping people around that make your energy go like this. Anybody that makes you go like this, they are in your life to teach you something. And what they need to teach you is how to find the courage to start to draw boundaries and to start to spend less time with those kind of people, because there's something about that personality type that makes you lose permission to speak. It makes you shrink as a person. That's a simple way to start to tune back into this and go, oh my God, my inner wisdom, my compass is working. I just don't read the thing and I don't listen to it. That's people's problems. Most of us know, we just don't listen to it.
Hey, I want you to take a quick split second of your time. All I want you to do is hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. I want to update you when I have a next iconic guest on my show. Stay in student mode.
Hey, it's Mel Robbins, and you're tuning into the Millionaire Student Show with Sashin.
So much of power when you talked about that 10-minute walk, when you talked about that bath, because what people miss is work, but they forget the reflection hour. They forget that 10-minute break truly allows them to have those thoughts that make up for when they weren't working. And, for me, I was working 16 to 18 hours a day. And now my 5 hours that I work is equivalent to my 16 to 18 hours a day, because it's more reflection. And that's what athletes do, off season versus on season.
The other thing too is like, you're also talking about the fact that you're absolutely right. 5 hours of focused and disciplined time is all you need to get done what needs to get done and grow your business and put your time where it really belongs. But we as a society have become addicted to being busy, and we have associated being busy with being successful and popular. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I struggled with this for a long time, where I was just scared to slow down, because I thought if I slowed down, I wouldn't be as successful. One of the blessings of the pandemic has been that I think it has acted like a gigantic pause for a lot of us. And it has forced you to really realize what's important and who's important, and how you do spend a lot of time on things that really don't matter. And that when you really get disciplined in your life and you create a powerful morning routine, and you create habits around taking care of your mind and taking care of your body and protecting your attention, you can get so much more done with so much less time and less agita and less stress.
So you talked about waking up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit the alarm clock. The quickest point from A to B is a straight line. Now you get onto the straight line. How do you stay on the straight line? Because life gets in the way, relationships gets in the way, everything is going to try pull you off.
Well, you're not going to stay in the straight line. So first of all, stop beating the hell out of yourself when you have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, a bad quarter, a bad year. Okay. Every day is an opportunity to wake up and decide who you are every single day. And even those periods where you're off the rails or you've fallen off the line, they were there to teach you something. And so don't look back with judgment. Look back at those periods with curiosity and look for the message that's in that mess so that you don't continue to repeat it. And so, first of all, I believe very, very, very strongly, and I realize a lot of people talk about morning routines, but I will tell you over and over and over again, if you're stuck, come back to how you wake up. Because how you wake up and set up your day is how your day will turn out. And for your entire life, you have gotten out of bed for other people. You've gotten out of bed because your parents yelled at you to. You got out of bed to get to school on time. You got out of bed to meet your friends. You got out of bed for your boss and to get to your job. You get out of bed because you got to get your kids fed and get them off to school. You get out of bed for other people and other things. I want you to think about what it would mean in your life if you got out of bed for you. What if you created just a simple practice every morning where your morning routine was not because of science and because of research, and that stuff's important, but that at a fundamental level, it's a gift that you give to yourself, that you wake up every day, both waking up from a slumber, but you're also waking up and deciding who you are today. And that means when that alarm rings, you're the kind of person that goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you get up. Because if you can get up, you can get going. And if you can get going, you can keep going. And what do I want you to do next? My whole morning is designed as a gift to me. And so I get up. I don't look at my phone. I immediately put on my exercise clothes because it's just a little hack.
You get rid of the dopamine instantly.
Well, if I get up my exercise clothes, like I'm not even talking about moving my body yet. I'm talking about get the damn clothes on. I lay them out the night before, so I literally have to trip over them. See, I'm into setting traps for myself.
Love that.
Oh God, there are my exercise clothes. I don't have to feel motivated that I have to put them on now. Now that they're on, do you know what kind of a loser I'm going to be if I don't exercise and I take them off and put my jeans on? See, I'm tricking myself. I'm trapping myself. I have a morning routine that's like seeing those clothes, it's a gift. Because now I don't have to think, do I want to, do I not? They were there, put them on, make it easy. Now that they're on, it's a gift. Because every time I see them, my mind is reminded, I promised I would do this. Then I go into the bathroom, and as I brush my teeth, I think very positive programming into my mind. Who am I going to be today? I'm going to be this person. I can do this, and I will do this. This positive thinking does just not happen. You have to intentionally put it in here. And then what do? I make my bed. Why do I make my bed? I make my bed because that means I've started my day completing something. I make it as a gift to myself because then when I walk into my bedroom, I see something that is done. I see a clean room. I don't immediately have my mind subconsciously go, oops, forgot to do that. I should probably remember to do that. And then on top of it, I have a beautiful place to come back to and dream tonight. Then I walk out of my bedroom and I enjoy a cup of coffee. And that's usually when I, take a quick walk outside. Then I dump out my one priority for the day, just quick journal. Then I move. Why am I doing this? I do it for me. And you have to organize your life around taking care of yourself. And it begins with how you start your day. Because the old Mel hit the snooze alarm 4 times. By the time she rolled out of bed, she was already having a panic attack. Half the time, she still pulled on her jeans and left the pajama top on because we were so late for that school bus. I would barely brush my teeth. I was thinking not positive things, but all the things that were going to go wrong today and beating myself up. And I can't believe you slept so late. And then I'd run into the kitchen and last night's mess would still be in the sink. Nothing would be prepared. Like your decisions have consequences. And if you start to make tiny, tiny, tiny little decisions that support the future you and who you want to become, your life rolls in a different direction. We want to think it's something big. It's not. Success, happiness, joy, peace, all of it. It's all about the little stuff, everybody.
Mel, what would you say the difference is between fear and one's inner voice control?
So I think that fear is a nervous system response that happens before your inner voice even hits you. And so fear is a feeling in your body. And that is why it's so important that you pay attention to what I'm saying about you taking this vagus nerve training and calming your body state down very, very, very seriously. Because you can do all the positive thinking up here, but if you still have trauma stored in your body or anxiety in your body, all this positive thinking is not going to calm down the body state. And the body state hits typically before any of the thinking does. The stuff that's up here they're all just thinking habits, and it's garbage somebody else trained you. We human beings in the human brain, we are designed to learn patterns. Not good or bad, just is. And so the way that you talk to yourself is a direct result of what the adults around you were saying to you or to each other when you were little. That's what's up here. And once the brain has a pattern, your brain also has a filtering system. And that filtering system in your brain, it acts to filter out 99% of the world and only let in evidence that matches the patterns. So if you grew up with a mom who had really negative self-talk or was super critical, or you grew up with an abusive dad who called you worthless or abused you, that's the pattern that got stuck here. It's not your voice, it's somebody else's. But the issue with our brains is our brains now look for evidence that supports the pattern. So, for example, if you're at work, and even though you don't want to feel like you're a worthless piece of shit, right? Who wants to think that? If you make a mistake at work or you say something in a meeting and nobody responds, your own brain will read the whole situation to confirm, see, I can't do anything right. And so personal change is both at the nervous system level, but it's also weeding out these patterns that are up here and starting to decision by decision reprogram what the default settings are, so that when you're sitting in a meeting and you've done the work to break the pattern of thinking garbage about yourself, and you've done the work to start to replace those negative patterns with, from I'm worthless to actually I can figure anything out to, I'm worthless. That was what he said. It's actually not true. To I'm afraid I'm going to fail, to, well, if I fail, I'll learn something. And if I don't fail, I'll surprise myself. Like just these little things that you can go from thinking this negative stuff to positive stuff. Over time, what happens is your mind will start to repeat the positive patterns. And when you're in a meeting and you say something and nobody reacts, you don't beat yourself up. You literally have no reaction to it because you've changed your own patterns in your mind, which change how you see the world.
So as much as our psychological state and mental strength actually drives us, how does our body tell us we're in the right profession or the right romantic relationship?
Oh, same tool I already gave you. How do you feel being in that romantic relationship? Because remember, the right romantic relationship is supposed to make you like yourself too. And everybody makes the same mistakes in romantic relationships. You think somebody liking you is about you being worthy. No, that's not it. Somebody liking you is about compatibility. And we get so focused on making sure somebody else likes us that we twist ourselves in knots because we'd rather you like us than me just be myself. When the truth is that you twisting yourself in knots to try to make somebody else like you always leads you to the wrong people. because you're not being yourself. And the only way to be in the right relationship is to be more of yourself. And so the same is true with your job. If you pull into work and you dread going to that building, you're in the wrong job. If you get an email from your boss and your hair stands on end, you're in the wrong job. If you're constantly questioning where you stand in your relationship, you're in the wrong relationship. Your body's already telling you this. You're just scared. That's why you're not listening. And you're also not leaving that relationship because you think your worth is tied to this person liking you. When you wake up and realize, wait a minute, this relationship's supposed to work for me too, and this is about compatibility, and if I'm not getting what I need out of this, this is not a compatible relationship for me. Boom. Relationships that work, they're actually easy.
So there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. I believe arrogance, firstly, is thinking you're better than others, whilst confidence is knowing you're the best and no one's better than you. So thinking versus knowing.
Hold on. I don't think that that's confidence at all. I think that confidence is the willingness to try. See, I anchor confidence in action because I don't believe that belief in self is the thing that makes people act confidently. I believe that when you are willing to try, even though you doubt yourself, that the act of trying and seeing yourself move through your doubts and your fears and your procrastination and your perfectionism, the act of moving through it is what starts to build belief in self. So I define confidence as the willingness to try. Arrogance is believing you're better than anybody else. And I think confidence is this quiet knowing that you can rely on yourself.
So would you say confidence is a skill or is it a trait?
1,000% a skill. Because even the most confident people, so people that rely on themselves and people that are willing to try and take risks, hit periods where they really doubt themselves and they don't feel confident in their decision-making and their actions. And so I think it's a skill that comes and goes and that you'll always be working on it because the whole point about life is to grow. And as you grow, you're going to face new challenges. And whenever you face a new challenge, it's going to, bring up fears and doubt. And that's why you're going to need to work on the skill of confidence, which is the willingness to try. That's where it begins.
So I've got your book, The 5-Second Rule. By the way, I probably picked up the last copy in South Africa. Let me get this. So, by the way, everyone, make sure you get this book from Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below.
Depending upon what language it's very different covers depending upon what language you're getting. But the Audible, if you can get Audible, it is an award-winning audiobook because I recorded it myself. And when I gave it to the editor, this is a funny story. When I gave it to the editor to edit it for me, he just trimmed the ends. And so there's all these freaking mistakes and you hear me dropping papers and swearing and it's a riot because it literally feels like I'm sitting next to you. It's not like chapter 1. So they're like, okay, here we go. All right. So what should okay, here we go. Here we go, everybody. I mean, the audiobook is fantastic.
So I'll make sure the link is in the description. You mentioned the rule, the 5-second rule, but I want to go the logic behind the countdown. Why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Okay, excellent question. The 5-second rule does not work if you count up. And it has to do with the way that your brain learns patterns. So we were all trained to count up. Doesn't matter what language you were trained to count up in. We were trained when we were really little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remember I said our brain is designed to learn patterns. Patterns are stored right here in the interior central part of your brain. This is your subconscious, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to use the 5-second rule as a tool to interrupt patterns that don't serve you, patterns that are stored right here. So when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're in this part of the brain already doing something that you've repeated a bazillion times. When you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, when you first start doing it, it requires focus. The act of counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, snaps you out of the subconscious and awakens the conscious part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex. And so you use the countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to interrupt patterns. Those patterns could be anything. It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, walk away from the booze. It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up the phone. It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath if you're dealing with a trigger related to PTSD. It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, direct yourself away from something that you're starting to obsess over. It could be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed, go to the gym, whatever it may be. So it pushes you towards things. It pulls you away from things that are negative. That's how you use it. But what you're doing in a brain level is you're using this as a hack. It's called a starting ritual in the language of habit research. You are interrupting the bad patterns, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're creating a ritual that starts you consciously learning a new one. Now, over time, when you keep using 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what happens is you create a new habit. You create the habit of courage and the habit of confidence. Like, I don't really need to count anymore. I just can feel when I'm about to do something that's automated that I don't like, and I just switch gears immediately. It'll work with kids. It works no matter what language you use it in. It works for any problem that you have. And here's one more reason why it works beyond just the brain function. When you start counting backwards, you've already made the decision to do something different. And the act of counting is the first decision in a different direction.
I mean, when I'm a typical example, when I'm writing my gratitude list in the morning, I got to do 10. I always go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, because I know subconsciously I have to finish the entire list.
Yeah. Like, same with reps in a gym. If you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, you're like, I'm sick of this. Okay, we're done here. But if you count backwards, 13, 12, 11, you're like, oh God, I got to get going.
Mel, to wrap up the last few questions, we all experience mess in our life, and it's on us to turn that mess into our message, as well as our adversities into our advantage. But how does one own what happened to them in life?
Well, first of all, if you have been the victim of a crime or of abuse, or of any kind of bias or discrimination, that is real. You did not deserve it. If you had really horrible circumstances that you were born into that created a lot of trauma for you, you did not deserve that. And so I need you to hear very loud and clear that you're not responsible for the things that happened to you, but you have a responsibility to heal yourself. And so your responsibility and ownership comes in how you respond and how you heal to the things that you have faced in your life. And when you realize that you are fully responsible and you fully own your own healing, that's where the power comes, because you get out of the mode of blaming your life circumstances on what happened. And you get out of the mode of feeling victimized, even though you may have been a victim. And you get into the mode of taking control of what you do next. I believe that you have limitless possibility. I believe that you were born for a reason. And I believe that that reason is very simple. The reason you were born is to figure out who you are and what makes you energized and happy in life, and to find the courage to share your full self with the world. What does that mean? It could mean something as simple as having the courage to create something that you're called to do just in your community. It could mean that you were the one that was born in your family to find the courage to heal yourself and break the cycle of generational poverty or generational trauma. It could mean something fantastic on a global level, that you were born to do something that's going to inspire the world. But it all begins with you finding the courage to tune in, to tune out the noise, to take care of your body, and to start speaking up and moving toward the things that really matter to you and that uniquely call to you.
So to wrap this up, my trademark question that I ask every single guest on my show, what does self-talk sound like with Mel Robbins?
Oh, I don't even know if your audience likes swearing, so I probably should have asked you.
Bring it on.
My self-talk, I have a very, very low tolerance for negativity. I just have gotten to a point in my life, and I've done so much work on myself that I don't vibrationally allow it. So does my mind drift there? Of course, but there's a lot of redirecting all day. I'm not going to think about that. Okay, that's all right. That's a problem. What am I going to do about it? So my self-talk is extraordinarily positive, and it's in the lane of, I can figure this out. This is happening for a reason. One of my most important things, there are two things that I do that I want you to steal. Remind yourself this is temporary. No matter what you're going through, it's temporary. And I love this mindset trick for two reasons. One is because if you're facing a challenge, reminding yourself that this is temporary shrinks the challenge. It shrinks your anxiety about it. It reminds you that there is something on the other side of this, that you'll get through this. The other reason why I love this positive talk, remind yourself this is temporary, is because it also does the inverse. When you realize this moment, this day, this podcast conversation, your life is temporary, it gives you permission to dream huge. You don't know how much time you have. So why not go for it? Why not heal yourself? Why not break out of the friend group that's holding you back? Why not end this relationship where you're not satisfied and feeling loved and fulfilled? Why not do the things that your heart is calling you to do? Because after all, this is temporary. And the final thing that I do is I don't ever leave a bathroom without high-fiving the person I see in the mirror. And the reason why is because too many of us look in the mirror and we don't even realize our subconscious immediately goes, ugh, or you see the thing you don't like, or you immediately think of something that's wrong with you. I want you, whenever you're in a bathroom, just give yourself a little high five, and you'll be surprised at how you start to realize that you're not cheering for yourself. And that's a simple way to start doing it.
Love that. I also believe it comes from familiarity, because familiarity breeds contempt. So the more we see ourselves, the less we start to give ourselves love, which I love doing. Those two parts that you brought up, incredible. Mel, where can people find you? How can people follow you on social media?
For sure. Make sure you tag me when you listen to this. I want to see a screenshot that you're listening to this, or a selfie with you listening to this. Tag us both. Just Mel Robbins. That's it. I mean, 99% of what we put out is free. There's an incredible course that we did that's free, that's called Mindset Reset, that teaches you for 31 days of free videos, no joke. You can go to melrobbins.com, Mindset Reset, and it's a 31-day playlist that you can watch. It's all the science around programming your mind and the default filters. It's incredible. 300,000 people have taken it. I put it out just as an act of service. I'm really proud of it. That's something that you can do. 99% of what I do is free. And so there's all kinds of resources all over social media.
Mel Robbins, thank you for being on the Millionaire Student Show. I truly appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for asking me.